All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, in particular the AWD 1100 C# programming class, I've been doing a series of interviews based on the textbook we're using for the class, that being Murachs, Murachs C# 8th edition. So far, I've got half the book done. I've done all of section 1. You can see the chapters. I just finished up section 2 with how to debug. Now we're going to go into something totally different. All right. And what I mean by that is we're going to talk about object-oriented programming, which is very different. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time, I don't know how many videos, but going over chapter 12. Then I'm going to go over chapter 13, kind of like that, because we're really not going to get much of a test or anything on that. But I'll spend a little more time on 14. And then we'll spend very little time on 15, but a little bit more on 16. Now, if that was confusing or you didn't follow it, don't worry about it. But between today and tomorrow, I hope to get done with section 3. Then we're going to go into section 4. Chapter 18 is sort of an island into it of itself. It's working with file input output. But link, which is chapter 18, is going to be a very good introduction to what we cover in section 5 of the database programming stuff. All right. So with that, I'm going to jump into here, how to use classes. So as they mentioned, this chapter presents the basics of creating and using C# classes. Now, I should mention one thing before we start about classes. Classes are 100% text. There is no GUI. You can go and you can create a GUI application that can reference features that are in a class, but the class itself is 100% textual. We'll talk about classes, properties, methods, constructors, classes that contain static members, and the chapter will end with us talking about structures, records, and record structs. They are similar to classes. We'll spend very, very little time on those. So we're going to get a quick introduction to classes, about 6 pages or so, then go through the basic skills for creating a class. Then we're going to start looking at, they're going to use this in several of the chapters, this product maintenance app. So I'm going to use their application. When we get into a class and we're working on this stuff in class, we very well might go through some other examples. But for now, to try to help facilitate your understanding, I'm going to be going through the examples that they have. All right. So we'll go through the product maintenance app, then more skills for creating and using classes. And the chapter ends, the last 10 pages or so, with a talk about structures and records and record structs. All right. So the first thing to realize when you start talking about a class is a class, for lack of better words, a class is like a blueprint. Just as if most people would not hire a builder if they bought a lot that's, let's just say, had 2 acres of land on it, and they decided that on that lot they were going to put their own house. They probably would not just sit there and hire some excavators to come in and dig a hole. Yeah, I'm going to put the house there. They'd probably first maybe contract an architect and figure out what kind of house they wanted. And that architect could very well create a blueprint for what the house is going to be like. That blueprint, which could conceivably be used on many, many houses, that blueprint would be a class. Each time you create a house based off of that blueprint, each one of those would be an object. All right, hence the object-oriented programming that we talked about. All right, so here they're talking about this 3-layered application. All right, it's not that important that right now you understand every bit of this, but let's go over it anyway. All right, So what you'll notice is we have, as it says, a three layers of application. All right. At the top level, the presentation layer is what the end user is going to see. All right. Now, there may be things that are in there as well, as it says, other form classes. There might be other things in there as well, but the presentation layer is what the end user is going to be able to look at. The middle layer that you see in there, these business classes, they're going to hold the business logic. If that confuses you, think about it this way. Before you can go into Rankin Technical College and take a class, you have to register for classes, you have to pay for classes, right? All right. Those are some of the business rules. You can't just walk in and start taking classes for free. Now, I realize there are Shadow of Tech days where you can come in and you can watch, a class for a day or so, and that's not what we're talking about here. Okay? All right. Then finally on the bottom, you've got this database layer. Now that is chapters 19, 20, 21, and 22. So we're not going to talk really about that at all right now. But we will, guarantee you, we will be talking about this, all right, towards the end of the class. All right. So it says, as you already know, the members of a class include its properties, its methods, and its events. Think about a class. If we were going to make a class that we were going to call people, or a person class, how about that, person? A person's properties might be things like a height, a weight, an eye color, a gender, hair color. All right. Its properties are basically things that all objects have. Methods would be things like eat, sleep, drink. We all eat, but we eat different things in different amounts. Same thing with drinking. All right. Same thing with sleeping. All right. So we have looked at some of this as we've gone on. We're going to look at it in more depth and breadth of coverage. You've also used the new keyword a few times in here, such as, remember, we've done things like this, where we've come in and we've said random, rand equals new random. What are we doing right there? We're actually going in and we are creating a brand new object of class random that we're going to be referring to as rand. So after we do that, we can use the different methods of the random class on it. You might remember we did things like rand.next. All right. So with the example they're going to start with in here, all right, it says this, they're going to start showing some stuff in here. So let's look at it. Now, classes can have properties and or methods and or constructors. As classes get more complex, they'll typically have more properties, more methods. They can also have more than one constructor. We'll talk about what that means in just a little bit. All right? But we're going to be working with an example, and we're going to start by working with something that's called a product class. All right? And when you look, what it says in here is that this product class that we're going to create, and look at in a minute, has three different properties. One that's a string that's called code that uniquely identifies a product. One that's a string called description, and that describes the product. And one that's called price, which is a decimal that contains the product's price. In addition, the product will have a method called getDisplayText that has a separator passed in. The separator is how you want to separate each thing you're going to print out. So if you're going to print out the code, followed by the description, followed by the price, you might call getDisplayText And the separator you pass in might be a tab, it might be a new line character, it might be a comma. All right. And then we've got a constructor, so every time we create a new one of these products, every time we create a new one, it'll have the default values. What does that mean? The default value for strings are the empty strings, so they'll be empty. A default value for a decimal will be 0.00M, so nothing. All right, well, let's look at this. And as we do it, let's actually do it. What do I mean? I'm going to come in here. I'm going to close what we worked on in the last chapter. All right, that was this example, this calculator app that we went through. And I'm going to come in and create yet another console project. In fact, yeah, we can create a console project. So this will be a new project. All right, it will again be a Windows Forms app. All right, and it will again be C#, etc. All right, and this will be test project, I believe it's 9. Let's double check. Yes, it is. Test project 9. All right, now we're going to do this a little differently. What do I mean? Well, the first thing we're going to put into here, into this test project 9, is we're going to create a class. All right, I'm going to have to take a break just for a second here. All right, sorry about that. So let's come into this project and let's right mouse click on here and let's choose add, but for the first time, let's go down to class. We could choose new item and choose class from the list, or just choose class. And I think that the class we're going to make is called product. I'm going to use the same one they show in the book. I think it's product.cs. We'll find out momentarily. And there it is. Now that doesn't give us a whole lot out of the box. All right. So I'm going to come in here, and unfortunately it doesn't let me just copy this stuff. All right, because of the way that it works in here. But I'm going to start doing some work myself here. So I've got all of this, and I'm going to create the constructor. All right, and we'll put in that method. All right, so I'm just grabbing, again, I grabbed everything that was in the book. And there is now our class. Now, don't worry. Looks like it's giving us some errors. We'll work on that in just a minute. All right. Probably. It's because one thing is I didn't have a, there we go. Okay, that fixed everything there. And it's telling us it doesn't like the way I wrote this, so let's look. Again, I forgot this. And you can see the errors keep going down as I'm doing this here, so. There, our errors are all gone. All right. Now, I didn't do those mistakes on purpose. I'm naturally a klutz. So what do we have here? First of all, looks like we're not using anything here, but I'll keep this system. Okay. So this is test project 9. Our class is called product. When a product is made, we're not doing anything special. So when we create a new product, the code will be the empty string. The description will be the empty string. And the price will be set to 0.00. All right. How do I even know that? How do I know that that's true? Well, you're going to see in just a couple minutes how we create, or also known as instantiate, one of these. But we are creating this right now. All right, let's jump back into the book then. So as it says, an object is a self-contained unit with properties, methods, and other members. We've only created the class, which is the blueprint for what our objects will look like. An object is an instance of a class. The act of creating an object from a class is called instantiating the object, or instantiation. All right. One of the primary things about object-oriented programming, also known as OOP, O-O-P, is the concept of encapsulation. As it says, it lets you control the data and the operation within a class that is exposed to other objects. You can make what you want to make public. You can make what you want to make private. And what you'll see shortly is you can make what you want to make in what's called protected. The data of a class is typically encapsulated using data hiding. In addition, as it says, the code is encapsulated so it cannot be changed without changing the classes around it. Now, a couple terms here, they have not been introduced yet, but I'm going to introduce. And they are interface and implementation. Implementation. And I'm going to use something real simple for this. I'm going to go to Windows, and I'm going to bring up the calculator. And what you see right here, what you see is the interface. Most people are smart enough that when you're old enough, if I wanted to get the square root, let's say, of 961, all right, and I click that. All right, it comes up and it says it's 31. The chances of me picking something that actually was a square root were not good. So let's try, even though I did, let's try something else. Let's try 1,089. Okay, 1,289. The square root is 35 point this. So if I take this right there and I multiply it, and I multiply it by this, notice what I get. Now, what does this have to do with anything? The interface is what is shown to me. The way this is actually done, the way internally, me putting in 1289, me clicking this button and having it come up with this, that's the implementation. So the interface is what I see. The implementation, all right, is what happens behind the scenes. And what you can do is you can now have control when you're doing this. You can have control over the interface. And as a developer, you are going to be creating the implementation. Now, again, that may not make a boatload of sense right now, and it's totally 100% fine. if that's the case. All right. This is all stuff that we're going to continue to be working with in the next several chapters. So how to create an object from a class. In other words, how to instantiate. All right. Here they're creating two different objects from the class. All right. Now what we could do, let's do this. Let's grab all of this code that's here. All right. So we're going to grab, and I'm going to use the old-fashioned way, not the newfangled way, this way right here. That's the way I was taught to do it. That's the way you'll see it in most code. In fact, well, maybe we'll do this one and this one because this is like a later one. All right. So I'm going to come in here, same code that I was typing on before, but I'm going to remove all that. And I'm going to say product1 equals new product. Product1 dot code equals C#. Product1 dot description equal Murachs C#. Let's even put it 8th edition. All right. And product1 dot price equal 5950M. All right. Now we're going to put the other one in. I'll put the other one in just a minute. But for now, let's just grab this. All right. There's a reason I'm showing it to you like this, and I'm showing you what I'm showing you. You'll have to take my word for it, but just give me a second here. All right. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to jump back into this. All right. And I'm going to open up my code. All right. And again, I don't think I'm going to need most of this stuff, so I'm going to get rid of it. And what I want to do, what I'm going to do in here, and I'm going to put it all in a comment. All right. I'm going to put all of it into a comment because we'll move it around later. So I'm going to paste in all that stuff I just showed you. Why? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 fields. So let's go and build something. All right. Now I'm going to make this a little feel like a little. Let's see. What color haven't we used it a bit? How about this red? Okay, there we go. All right, so let's come through here and let's start by making 3 buttons. We've done this so many times now. So here's our 3 buttons. And these buttons in just a minute, as always, they're going to be our calculate, our clear, and our exit. Okay, let's create 4 text boxes. And let's make 4 labels. Let's make the label darker. All right. And I'm going to move that over to here. And this is all stuff that we have been doing pretty much all semester long. Again, let's come in here And let's change the size of all of our text, which will change the size of our objects. All right, so we've now got that. Looks like these have to be made a little bigger. Okay. There we go. Okay. Doesn't look terrible. Let's lock our interface. Lock controls. Okay, and what did we have again? We have 4 different fields. They are, oh, there's 3 fields. I'm sorry. There's a code, there's a description, and there's a price. So there's 3 fields. Okay, so let's get rid of those. Not perfect. Our calculate button. This will be our clear button. And this will be our exit button. Not worrying about even putting any code in right now. This will be txt product code. All right, this will be txt product description. This will be txt product price. All right, this will be LBL product code. And if we want to put the text in there that says product code, this is probably going to be too small. I'm going to unlock these so I can make them smaller. So I can take, and then we'll lock it back up again. Okay, so this is product code. This will be the product description. And this will be the product. Now, one thing, and I haven't really shown you this, it's not a big thing. But if I want to make sure that I have taken everything that I've got in here and they've all got names, I can move this up a little and I can click on this down arrow right here, see if I missed anything. And I missed renaming the form. So let's rename the form. I'm going to right mouse click, rename, and I'm going to call this FRM OOP, big OOP for OOP. All right, and I'm going to put the text in there for it. I'm just going to call it OOP example 1. So there's OOP example 1. Okay, now there's nothing big that I've done so far. All right, there's my clear, and there's my exit. Okay, now what am I going to do in here? Well, I am going to come in and actually create a new product. So I'm going to grab all this code, remove this, and I'm going to come in my calculate button. I'm going to create this. I don't get any errors. All right, product 1 equal new product, except I think it'll want that. All right, but now I'm going to do this. I'm going to say txt product code.text equal product1.code. txt product description.text equal product1.description. And txt product price.text equal product1.price .toString, and we'll make it currency. No errors. That's a good start. Now, if I did this right, what I should see in my text boxes, what I should see in those text boxes is in the first text box, it should say C#. In the second text box, it should say Murachs C# 8th edition. And in the third text box, it should say $59.50. And let's see if that happens. So File, Save All. This is kind of neat because it's the first time we've actually come in here and done our calculate area first, even though there's really no calculations we're doing in here. All right, so this is it right here. Okay, let's run it. I didn't play with moving everything over, but when I click calculate, let's see if we get here. C#, Murachs C# 8th edition, and $59.50. Let's see if we get all that. And we do. So I have gone in and I have created a product, all right, and I have listed it out here in the associated text boxes. Clear doesn't work and exit doesn't because there's no code in there yet. All right, we can go in, pretty it up a little so I can take the text that's in here and center it. All right, and we've done this now. We can come in and put clear in, which is going to say txt product code dot text equals nothing. Txt product description dot text equals nothing. And txt product price dot text equals nothing. And txt, if we want to, we don't even need to go and do anything with a focus. That'll fix that. All that's going to do is remove those values that we put in. And then finally in our exit, all right, again, I'm going to have to grab that from an older example. Oh, what happened here? Oh, that's the one I renamed FRM OOP. Well, that isn't good. Well, it probably won't hurt anything. Oh, goodness, Jeff. So this should be renamed FRM OOP. Okay, yes, I wanted to rename everything. Oh my goodness, I still have the wrong one up here. Good golly. Oh, I don't know why that's up here. There we go. OOP example 1, FRM OOP. Good. All right. But let me go back to an earlier test project. I'm just going to make this, rename this form1.cs. All right, I'm just going to do that. And then code. There's the exit button code that we want. Okay, now I can close this. Okay, and now I can put in our exit program or not. Private, void, exit program or not. And paste that in. All right, so is everything working now? So if I click calculate, there's my stuff. Clear, clears it. I guess I didn't clear that. I'll have to do that. Exit works as well. Now let's look at the clear. Product price, product description. That should have said product code. And let's double check and make sure. There, clear, exit. Okay, so what I have shown you is how we can go in and create our own class if we want to, how we can also go and grab those members, go in and instantiate inside of here. So we instantiated that right here. That's instantiating or creating a new object right there called product1. All right. This is giving values to each one of, all right, that is giving values to each one of the properties. But remember in here, we also had a thing in here that was called get display text. Let's see if we can do that. All right, so let's see if we can call that. What do I mean? Well, can we come in here and do this? Product1 dot get display text. And between each one of these fields, we'll put in a tab like that. All right, just like that. Now, the problem is we got that, we've called it, and that's cool, but where is it going to display it? All right, and I don't have any idea where the heck it's going to display it. Looks like I missed a semicolon there. How about this? Can I do a message box dot show, and can I have it show all that stuff? We'll put in there, whoops, sorry. Put a comment in here that says product 1 details, just like that. And I'm not even going to worry about buttons or anything, just like that. All right, so let's see if we get this message box. Calculate, there it is, C# 5950 Murachs, so we get everything. See that? And if we wanted to be really cool about it, well, first of all, let's take this and let's center that on the page. So that'll be center screen, as we always do, because I'm trying to be consistent here with all of you. So let's go to the accept button, calculate, the cancel button, clear, the view tab order. Why that doesn't show sometimes, but does others. So technically we're not even adding anything here. So let's do this. Let's do that. Let's close the tab order and reopen it. All right, so that'll be 0, 1, 2. We're not even going to allow the user to change these. So in just a minute, we're going to make all these read only. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Another view tab order. All right, I'm going to make all of these read only. Now it comes off kind of a gray. Doesn't have to be. Or we could, come in here and try to change the color. So if we wanted to, for example, I could make the color, I don't know, light blue, something like that. All right. So now notice what's going to happen. I want to do one more thing. And in this calculate, when we print this out, this message box, all right, let's do this first. Let's put in some headings. So I'm going to put in here code, description, price. like that. And we'll see. I'm just trying to make this look a little prettier. All right, run a little bit nicer. So calculate. There it is. There's the code. There's the description. And there's the price. Oh, I guess I got them backwards. It's code, price, description. So let me fix that. So that should say code. Then this should be price. And this should be description. Okay. All right. Now, so far, this may or may not make sense to you. And you might say, yeah, it kind of makes sense, but I don't see what the hell good it is. And that's going to come. You have to take my word for it. All right, I'm at 41 minutes. I can go a little bit longer, I think, here. We could create another one and put this stuff in here. I could even bounce back and forth between showing the first one and the second one, or whatever we wanted to do in here. So there's a lot of different things in here that could be done. All right. When an object is created or instantiated, a constructor is executed to initialize the data. That constructor was what we saw previously, back a couple pages. That was the constructor. It does nothing but give all things their default values. Since two fields were strings, their default values were the empty string, and the default value for the price was 0. Now, if we create another one in here, and we can do that, we can grab this. All right. So I can come in here if I want to. It doesn't matter. We can come in here and do this. So I can come in here and say for the code, I can say product 2 equals new product. Product 2 dot code equals ASP MVC product 2 dot description equal Murachs ASP.NET MVC, and finally product 2 dot price equals 61.50 M. And what you'll notice is if I go back now into my program, if I go back into my program and I add those things up here, I won't get any errors unless I spelled something wrong. All right. So I won't get any errors unless I forgot to put in a double quote. Or I spelled product wrong. All right. Now I've got that. Who cares? Well, what if I come back here now and change these all? So this says product 2, this says product 2, and this says product 2. All right, so I have changed those, as you can see. All right, so now if I do a file, save all, run it again, click calculate, now I get ASP MVC, Murachs, and the price. This is going to be wrong because it still has the product 1 stuff in it, but I can clear, I can exit, and I guess I have to go back now and change this to product 2 dot get display details. All right, and just so you see the difference, I'm going to make a comma and a space. That's going to be my new separator. A comma and a space, and it will say product 2 details. And we'll change this as well to code, price, And description, we'll just make it DESC. And we will I'll put a space in between each one of these. All right, so file, save all, calculate. All right, these have to be moved over, as you can see, but there's the title, there is the price, and there is the description. All right, and they're all here as well. All right. Now, this is not that big a thing, but it does show you that we literally can go in and create two different objects. All right. Maybe this will look a little nicer. I don't know. A little bit. Okay. Again, all I'm doing here is following along with what's in the book. The most important thing about an object is what's known as the object's state. And as it says here in the second bullet, the data that makes up an object is sometimes referred to as object state. Once the object has been instantiated, its state can change. All right, we're not allowing it to change because I made those fields read only, but there's no reason that they had to be. The state changes whenever you change the value of an object's properties. For instance, if I was going to make a person object and I had a height and a weight, well, if I did that when the person was born, their height might be 15 inches. Their weight might be 6 pounds. If I did it after a year, their height might be 24 inches and their weight might be 30 pounds. All right, so an app can create 2 or more instances of the same class. Just showed you that. All right, so another way we could do this is the old-fashioned way of doing it. This, to say equal new, or to do new like this, these are the newfangled ways of doing it. It's not that big a thing which one you use. All right. So how to add a class file to a project? Guess what? I just showed you. We added that project class. How to add properties? Again, just showed you. Now, there's more than one way that you can set these properties up. If you notice here, these properties are public. You don't always want to make your properties public, because if you make them public, they can be changed by virtually anyone, anywhere. We'll get into that as we go on in this chapter a little bit. Okay, I don't want to confuse people. It's the last thing in the world I'm looking to do. All right. So you can use a property to both get, and that means retrieve, or set, that means literally mutate or change a value. All right. So the getter retrieves, the setter sets or mutates or changes the value. A property with both a getter and setter has read-write capabilities. A property with just a getter and no setter is read-only. A property with just a setter and no getter is write-only. There's other ways that you can write these, including using lambda operators. And as it says, there's different ways that you can write this with different versions of C#. The properties shown here are what are known as auto-implemented properties. You're going to see different ways of doing this as we go through the rest of this chapter. All right. Now, we already put in that method. We've already used this method. All right. And just so you know it, even though I did it, and it's totally fine the way I did it, whoops. But even though we went in here and we did this, let me go back to here. All right. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to copy both of these. In fact, I'm going to copy this twice. All right. And I'm going to change this to product specs. Okay. And we will call this LBL product specs. All right. And I'm going to change this. I'm going to make that so it can look like this. All right. And this will be LBL product details. All right. And we have a thing in here I don't remember for multi-line. No, but I think it'll work fine the way it is. And I don't want this to say anything right now. Okay, but I do want this. Let's move this down. Let's make this bigger. I don't know if that'll be big enough or not. And if you say, I don't have any idea what you're talking about, let's move this down. And let's move this down. And let's move this down. And let's lock it again. And let's go into our calculate. Now, this thing that we called here, this product2.get, this thing, all right. Let's not just have the message box, but let's say LBL product details dot text equal get display text. But what I'm going to put in between each one of these things is going to be a new line. All right. Let's see what happens now. There's our information. There's our information. ASP net MVC 6150, Murachs ASP net. Okay, I'm just replicating the same information. If I went back and changed it again, and I got to clear that too. So let's go into our clear routine, and we'll say LBL product details dot text equal double quote double quote. Okay, but let's go back to where we just were, and let's change all these product 2s back to product 1. Like that. That should be correct. Now what you'll notice, we've got the C thing again. There it is. Okay. All right, clear. Now everything's cleared, and exit yes. All right. We've made some headway in here already. And we're up to how to code constructors. I think this is a good place to stop. So we're on page 386. Okay. And we've gone quite a ways already, even if it doesn't seem like it. All right. So I'm going to stop here, and there will be a part 2 that will start up literally in a matter of minutes.